Alright, this is Caesar with Toxic Baits for a new episode of The Juice. I'm rolling up on cats. So nobody comes to my house. I'm smashing up on them and getting info for you guys. So I'm here with Danny D, originator of the D-Bag Shag Color. And he's going to give some tips on the weight hogs. He started throwing that thing this year and it ended up working out great for him. So let's hear what he has to say.
How's it going, everybody? Danny Delamater. Also, Delta Dude 4 on Instagram. Sure some of you guys have seen me before. I'm going to talk to you about the weight hog day. Personally, I'm pretty new to big baits. Haven't been doing it for very long. So a lot of this stuff seemed like it was going to be a little bit too big for what I wanted to take and do until I actually got the opportunity to fish it. I'm going to kind of share a little bit of a story with you on how it kind of gained the confidence that got me to throw these baits and not be able to put them down. So I started with the wake and crank. And the wake and crank seemed like something that was going to be more my style because it was smaller. I was able to fish it conventionally without making too big of a transformation into, a bigger rod, bigger gear, bigger ratios to the fact, I could fish it almost like I was going to fish a crankbait or spinnerbait or even a chatterbait in a sense because I could fish them in the same areas. But every time I looked at the weight hog, felt like the weight hog was maybe a little bit bigger than what I wanted to do. So I just constantly had a mental block that I just didn't have the confidence in throwing it. I didn't have the opportunity to throw it as much as I wanted to because I had that mental block. And really, all it takes to gain that confidence is just a sporadic time period where you're throwing it, nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden it just is on. And so back earlier in this year, I had a really rough couple months during the winter time. I was having a really hard time finding fish. Anybody who's fished California Delta knows how tough it can be. If you're not on a pattern, that pattern can change overnight. It can change within a 15-minute stretch. And, we had dirty water. We had a lot of water this year due to the rains, the storms, and everything. And I just kind of started exploring, and I pulled up to a stretch that I hadn't fished in years. Now I was throwing conventional baits. I was throwing Bobby D chatterbait. I was throwing a spinnerbait. I was getting bites here and there. Picked up a Senko. I was getting a couple small ones, and I'm like, this isn't what quality fish I wanted to take and get. So the back of my mind, I kept telling myself, I need to pick up the weight hog. And I need to gain confidence in a weight hog because I know that I wanted to, and I knew that it caught fish. I've seen the results. I just hadn't seen it personally. And the only way that you can take and get results and to get confidence is to get it yourself and just fish it. And the tide was pretty high when I picked it up. I could see a lot of isolated weed beds, a lot of hydrilla, but there was lanes running between them. So I figured why not, try to crank this bait down around them, see if I can get any fish to come out. Literally no sooner than 2 casts in, I stuck a 2-pounder. Doesn't seem like a big fish, but it was a big fish for confidence. I literally bounced that fish in the boat, was just ecstatic. It was outstanding to feel like I caught a fish on a big bait that I had zero confidence in prior. So, farted around with that fish a little bit, let the stoke kind of wear off a little bit, got back to fishing. Next cast stuck a 3-pounder. Then my confidence started reaching a pretty high level. It was, crazy because I had zero success on this bait up until that point. And then, a couple casts later, I stick an 8. And then now all of a sudden, I'm running in cloud 9 because there's no stopping me. I went on down this bank in a 15-minute stretch and caught 6 fish for pushing 24 pounds. It was unreal to me. Because I'd had zero confidence in this bait up to that point, and all of a sudden I felt like I can't put it down. Well, I took that confidence and I ran with it. People who follow me, people who have seen me on Instagram, they know how much I throw a weight hog just by how much I post pictures on it. And that's not because I'm trying to sell a bait. Honestly, personally, for me, I catch so many fish on this thing that, the less people that throw, the better it is for me. But people need to know that these baits work so that they can get their hands on it too and see the things I've seen. I've seen things this year on this bait that I've never seen with anything else. It's crazy. When you got, multiple double digits fighting over your bait on one single cast, it's pretty hard to put a bait down, and it's really hard to not have confidence. I mean, even when you're not catching fish, just to see a fish's behavior is just crazy, you know? Like, you don't see that on, you know, a spinner bait. I mean, you might have a couple followers here and there, but to see the things I've seen on this bait has just been, it's been crazy. I mean, I literally have no other way of putting it. And I mean, it's, you know, it's been one of those things that you go through a little bit of a dry spell, and then all of a sudden, bang, 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 you catch 3 fish. And I mean, it's, those 3 fish were worth the entire dry spell. I mean, and that day, I've gotten to the point now where I don't go a day without catching a fish, at least 1 fish on a way dog. And it's crazy. And for me, a lot of people ask me all the time, and a lot of people have tried to kind of pick my brain on how I fish it. And the best way I could tell you, without being, you know, super just, you know, easy with it by just saying, you know, just fish it. I mean, I really target a lot of vegetation. I don't get a lot of my bites in open water. I'll get a lot of my bites on a high tide where it looks like there's a lot of open water, but it's truly above weeds. Catch a lot of fish on flats, a lot of fish on weed lines. Most of my fish, though, come on, you know, isolated cover. I mean, I catch a lot of fish in sparse tulies, but I catch a lot of fish around isolated cover where I can crank the bait around the top. I could wake it. I could take and I could crank it down and pause it. Cranking it down and pause it, it's been my go-to. I mean, it's been one of those things where, you know, I can get it to a point with this bait where if I pause it around some primrose or some penny wart or even some hydrilla, where you basically can call your shot sometimes. I mean, it takes a lot of the thinking out of it because you think, oh, fish has got to be there. And a lot of times they are. You just got to present it right. And I feel like with this bait, it's allowed me to, you know, learn how to present a swim bait because it is a transitional bait. And it's still a swim bait, but it allows you to fish it almost like a square bill. I mean, that's literally how I've learned to fish this thing. It's basically like a big square bill. And the drawing power that this bait has is crazy. I mean, it's going to give you the opportunity to catch some serious fat sacks. I mean, you know, not even just 1 fish at a time. You catch double ups on this bait. I mean, it's insane. I mean, you know, just, you got to throw it. You got to throw it. You got to get your confidence. I mean, you can take it from me. I had 0 confidence in the swim bait. And I started throwing it, and I started catching fish, and I've never looked back on it. I mean, if you see my weight dog, it's thrashed. And I mean, that's not from rocks. That's from me throwing it. I mean, it's a bait to throw. You need to get your hands on them.
What reel do you throw it on, Danny?
I throw it on a Shimano Tranx 300.
Line and stuff.
I throw it on the high gear ratio personally because I feel like I can slow myself down enough. It's kind of a catch-20. Sometimes you can't slow yourself down enough. Sometimes these fish like it burnt. I mean, it's, you know, sometimes they really want it. If you can crank that thing quick enough so that it makes them react to it, that's really what you're trying to do. Other times, you literally have to creep that bait across the surface and they just kill it. As far as line goes, I kind of experiment a little bit with line. I use 20-pound tactical P-line a lot for waking cranks and stuff like that. As far as getting a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier of a bait with like a weight hog and stuff like that, I like to use 25-pound Seagar. I use 25-pound P-line tactical if I could, but they don't make it that high. Seagar has not let me down. Neither is P-line. I use fluoro. I know a lot of people with treble hook baits. They like mono. They like braid. I like having the confidence in knowing that fish isn't going to see my line personally. It makes it a little bit more difficult to wake a bait when you allow it to sit or pause because your line starts to sink and whatnot. But you just have to learn your bait. That's what it comes down to. You got to learn how your bait reacts. How your bait reacts on a jerk, how it reacts on a pause, what it does. I mean, I even catch fish making a long cast and just letting it sit. I mean, a lot of times those fish get kind of spooked by a splash. You let that bait sit there and, you know, kind of bring that fish's attention back, and that fish comes back and crushes it when you're not even paying attention. I mean, there's just so many things you can do, and it's all about learning your bait. That's really the best that I can take and tell you, and that goes for everything.
What spiral light rod do you throw on?
I personally use it on a Spiral Light Defiant 8-foot heavy mod fast. I started on a Spiral Light 8-foot heavy fast, Caesar actually kept telling me, you need to try the mod. I'm pretty close-minded with a lot of stuff. I'm really stubborn. I neglected to do that for a while, and in reality, it cost me a lot of fish. The fast can be a little bit too quick sometimes. Those fish will come up and roll on it, and you'll rip the bait out of their face. With that mod, it allows for just a split second more where you can take and have those fish truly get hooks. And it's been crazy because you can see fish that you know if you'd be using too fast of a rod, these fish would have the hooks pulled out. And with that mod, you even skin hook fish and you can still get them in the boat. It's wild, you know? So I recommend checking out Spiralite. I mean, these rods are fantastic. I mean, you can't beat the price tag. I mean, they're affordable for any angler. You can go from a Mav to an SQ to a Defiant, and you're not going to break the bank.
Yep. Spiralite, son. Ha! That's all you're going to get over here. Thanks for checking us out. Do you have anything else you want to add, Danny?
Just keep on fishing.
Yeah. And this is, I think this is a good story for people that haven't got into swim baits. You know, you can pick and pull whatever information you can from everybody talking from this experience without getting super specific. Later on in the episodes, I'm gonna get down to the nitty gritty, like tides, moon phases, exactly where we're doing, like illustrations on the board and whatever to break down where the fish are located. But for now, we're just trying to bring you the juice and get you guys with some confidence on the water if you don't have any, or if you kill it out there and you can pick up one tip from these videos, they're worth it to make. So hopefully you guys got these tips. One more thing, I don't think I threw in mine. Change your hooks after you catch fish. You're going to lose a lot of fish, especially with those, when you get bigger bites, that super hard jawbone. You'll bend these tips over, especially on ST36, but even on 3X. Check your hooks. Keep them sharp, especially if you lose a couple. Keep extra ones on the boat, and it'll help you put more fish in there.
I'm really bad at that, and I need to start doing that myself.
Yeah, everybody is. But, all right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for checking us out. And there'll be a new episode soon. We're trying to keep content rocking. I'm going to mob up on Chris Ball and his son Jack Ball next. We're going to get all the info out of those Delta sages, see what they got to say. So, thanks a lot, guys.